see that it's 1:30 and we have a quorum. Happy February, everyone, and welcome to the first Smart Cities and Service Improvements Committee meeting of 2022. I hope everyone's New Year's off to a good start. Can we begin with a roll call?
Foley.
Here.
Jones.
Present.
Liccardo. Cohen.
Here.
Mahan.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful. All right. Welcome, everyone. And for the members of the public who are participating, thank you for being here. Just a reminder that during public comment, you'll be able to raise your hand via Zoom, or if you have dialed in, you can press *9 to participate. We appreciate you being here. We do not, as far as I know, according to the agenda, we don't have any changes to the work plan or anything on the consent calendar. So if it's okay with you, Rob, I think we'll go to reports and ask you for a quick overview of our agenda today.
Yes, Chair. Good afternoon, Chairperson Mahan, Mayor Liccardo, Vice Mayor Jones, committee members, and esteemed members of the public. I'm Rob Lloyd, Deputy City Manager for the City of San Jose. For our February meeting, city staffs will present 3 long-term items and efforts for you. First, under Agenda Item D1, we have a report on the conclusion of the city's high-speed wireless innovation demonstration partnership with Facebook, now Meta, that invented a new technology product line for connectivity and refreshed public wireless in downtown San Jose in late 2021. Second, under Agenda Item D2, we have a report on the city's drive to digital efforts that took on a higher importance when COVID started. Over the course of almost 2 years, a mighty team has led a transformation of city processes from paper to digital. And you're going to hear about those teams and the impact of their work. And last, for D3, we will present the implementation of the city's digital privacy program as committed in 2021. Since City Council's adoption of the city's digital privacy policy at the end of 2020, staffs have incorporated privacy controls and public engagement in how we fund, procure, and implement initiatives and operations that use data, all aiming to sustain our community's trust. And so with that, we'll launch with the first item, which is the Terragraph Innovation Demonstration Partnership. And it's one reason that City of San Jose is recognized as a leader in innovation versus some other governments is our demonstration agreements that Council created many years ago. And that ability is for staff to experiment with private technology partners so that we can learn novel approaches and test them at scale. To paraphrase the mayor once, he said, try. At worst, we fail fast and fail forward, but at best, we change the game. And Terragraph is a project where we have very good takeaways. So Ed Kim, our Deputy Chief Information Officer, and Sudhir Vangadi, our IT Products Projects Manager, will present for the teams. Ed?
Thanks, Rob and Ed. I'm sorry. I'm hearing a little bit of background noise. Can we have everybody mute themselves, please, other than whoever's speaking? Thank you. All right, Ed, over to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Rob. Good afternoon, Chairperson Mann, Mayor Liccardo, Vice Mayor Jones, committee, and members of the public. Ed Kim, Deputy Chief Information Officer over Infrastructure and Operations for IT. Joined with me today is the Product Projects Manager over the city's digital inclusion effort, Sudhir Vangadi. We are here to present to you the final report of the innovative demonstration agreement between the City of San Jose and Facebook, now known as Meta, around the Terragraph infrastructure deployment in the downtown area. Next slide, please. I'd like to start off by clearly defining the intent around the innovation demonstration partnerships. These 4 points displayed before you define the core intentions around which private partners are able to propose technologies or solutions, as well as to prove out the realities of those aspirations or ambitions. The agreements are structured to A, partner on approaches that are novel, B, have potential to benefit the public, C, limit financial risk to the city, and D, define a conclusion point. And we're going to be bringing this to full circle towards the end of the presentation. Next slide, please. When the city initially engaged Facebook Meta, the question that the demonstration agreement poised to address was around the fundamental question, why do we do public Wi-Fi? Specifically, public Wi-Fi provided as a city service. Oh, okay, there you go. It was around this question that 3 key areas were identified for the solution to it. It was around this question that 3 key areas were identified for the solution to address. infrastructure that allows for city operations to be conducted, opportunities for potential economic improvements through special events and downtown activations, and finally, potential benefits to bridge the digital inclusion gap for communities and residents. Next slide, please. Through a series of engagements, amendments, and milestones in the demonstration partnership agreement, Facebook was able to successfully deploy a prototype technology that leverages millimeter wave wireless signaling to allow for high-speed internet to extend to urban, suburban, and rural areas at low cost, where the cost of extending backhaul such as fiber may be expensive. And once the install was complete of the prototype infrastructure, a limited number of city employees were able to test and use the new technology, which allowed for live traffic to be generated on the new network and provided a platform for users to provide feedback. And with the resulting feedback, Facebook was able to complete their testing and validation to make the prototype technology available for production systems. Now, to present the details around the production phase of the partnership is the Digital Inclusion Products Project Manager, Sudhir Vengati.
Sudhir, you're on mute.
Sudhir, we still can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
No problem. There we go.
So
Sudhir, I'm sorry. Do you mind presenting just so folks who are watching on YouTube or elsewhere can see the slide?
Presentation mode? Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Sudhir, you're showing, yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry about that. So thank you again. The second amendment to the demonstration partnership agreement with Facebook was to address the digital inclusion needs of the downtown area. And based on the Facebook initial prototype, Wi-Fi coverage areas, specific corridors were identified by the Office of Economic Development on the intent to support and revive downtown businesses that have been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Members from the City of San Jose's Public Works Department, Department of Transportation, and ITD collaborated with Facebook, SmartWave, and Rosentin Electric and Cambium Networks in the design, deployment, and testing of the new production-ready high-speed Cambium infrastructure. This map, what you see here, illustrates the new corridors where the Wi-Fi service is now available. Cambium radios and Ruckus radios were installed along the identified corridors. Cambium equipment, powered by telegraph technology, provides high-speed data backhaul, and the Ruckus radios provides the Wi-Fi coverage and the internet service. This project was implemented in collaboration with several partners. Meta, formerly Facebook, has been a partner with the city since 2016, providing the technology and the design around the downtown implementation. Cambium Networks, they assisted in the configuration and installation of the equipment and provided standard operating procedures. SmartWave led the effort in staging the Wi-Fi radios and improving the Wi-Fi configuration to prevent Wi-Fi disconnects, something that users experienced in the past on our legacy network. Rosentin Electric performed all of the construction work required for the street pole installs. The key members who were instrumental in making this project a success are Ed Kim, who is our Deputy Chief Information Officer from ITD, James Castillo, Enterprise Network Infrastructure Manager from ITD, Ho Lam, Enterprise Network Engineer for Wired and Wireless Infrastructure, also from ITD. Keith Chow, he's the Associate Engineer from the Public Works. And myself, the Product Projects Manager over Digital Inclusion Portfolio. So with both the prototype and production infrastructure, special events and downtown activations were able to fully benefit from this new internet service. In 2019, San Jose was the host city for the National College Football Playoffs. The prototype infrastructure was able to provide free Wi-Fi service for thousands of out-of-state visitors and local fans attending the events and concerts hosted in Cesar Chavez Plaza and Discovery Meadow. The new production network released last year allowed for thousands of visitors to have connectivity while visiting Christmas in the Park and the downtown ice skating rink. With the Wi-Fi footprint extended to the Santa Clara and San Pedro corridors, restaurants now they have the ability to offer fast Wi-Fi to diners who want to sit and dine safely outdoors. And finally, the corridors that offer the Wi-Fi connectivity provide downtown city workers the ability to connect for city work, starting from City Hall, extending all the way to the San Jose Convention Center. The statistics that were captured, they draw several conclusions. And the first and the most apparent one is that the Wi-Fi infrastructure is actively being used and generating traffic. The reports also found that the top used applications are YouTube and Facebook Live, potentially showing the usage of these applications around specific events in the downtown area. Looking beyond the November 1st data point, in December of 2021, the number of users increased tenfold to 150K users, a greatly increased user base compared to the metrics from November. Because the increase in internet usage was found around the Market Street location, it can be concluded that the increase was due to a large number of attendees to the downtown Christmas in the Park event. And the data also shows that the total usage tripled, demonstrating the active usage of free public Wi-Fi during major downtown events. And potential next steps. There were some strategic next steps that were identified to continue to provide better services for the public Wi-Fi benefit. Based on the assessments and scans, there are identified areas where additional equipment would provide better continuous internet service. And the other corridors, such as Paseo de San Antonio, where expanded Wi-Fi could assist more downtown businesses. And the city is also offering strategies to downtown businesses to extend the outdoor Wi-Fi service to indoors at low cost so that the coverage is not limited solely to outdoor areas. And the city is also trying to identify ways to provide signal identification for special events or downtown activations through the use of temporary mobile ruckus radio installations that can be stood up quickly for an event and easily be taken down at its conclusion. Also, the city is identifying opportunities to use the Cambium technology to extend this high capacity backhaul to other city facilities such as airport or remote community centers without incurring the expenses of trenching to extend underground fiber. And with that, I hand it over to Ed Kim.
Thank you. The last slide is to align the concluding results with the original intents around the innovation demonstration partnerships. First, this partnership proved to be very successful as the city and Meta Facebook were able to successfully partner in making San Jose the first urban terragraph technology deployment for public Wi-Fi usage. Through a mutual commitment to learn together, Facebook was able to learn lessons through the challenges around their hardware and installing in a densified urban environment, and the city was able to learn lessons around the complexities of outdoor Wi-Fi infrastructure builds. Second, through our conversations with economic development and the Downtown Business Association, the outdoor public Wi-Fi is recognized as a high-value service for outdoor usage for events and businesses, which is a critical component, particularly now, in potentially supporting and reviving downtown businesses that have been impacted through the COVID-19 pandemic. Third, the state-of-the-art technology was made available at no cost to the city through the contributions from Facebook and Cambium networks. Through the partnership, the city was able to establish new strategies around an ongoing support model to address lifecycle management and outdoor Wi-Fi support. And finally, the proven technology can provide critical benefit to suburban or rural areas in San Jose to close the digital inclusion, digital equity gap. This is already being recognized through the implementation of this terragraph technology at some of the upcoming Eastside Union High School district expansion areas. So in conclusion, The recommendation around this report is the acceptance of the status report of the conclusion of the Facebook Telegraph Innovation Demonstration Partnership Agreement. And at this point, I'd like to open up the floor for any questions that you may have.
Thanks, Ed and Sudhir. I appreciate the update status report on what is clearly a very innovative partnership and a lot of progress over the years. Why don't we go to the public first to see if there's any public comment? Have the timer up. Okay, Mr. Beekman.
Hi, Blairman here. Thanks for this item. I'm sitting outside right now. There's buses going by. Things will mellow out in a second here. Thank you. I think, first of all, just a quick reminder of the importance of, this has been a program that's been in existence for all the time I've been in San Jose pretty much, and people are moving on from it at this time. A goodbye to them. How this project, it's not going to be, it doesn't work in underground cable systems and stuff. How is it working with all the new data collection that's going in, and Wi-Fi that's going in around the downtown area for the future of, say, the issues of, the mobile transit systems like the scooters and bicycles and stuff like that. And there's a whole new set of data collection and geofencing going in downtown at this time. Is it possible to talk about those connections? And of course, the open public policies that are needed for all of this can never be stressed enough and its importance. I guess overall, thank you for this item and, good luck in open public policies with all of this work. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, looks like we're back to the committee. Give my colleagues a minute. All right, Mr. Mayor.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks everybody for the hard work. I'm sorry I was off camera there for a moment, catching up on lunch. Hey, I just had some questions about sort of our next steps. For example, if we were going to be providing indoor access for Wi-Fi, we would need to be providing boosters, I assume, to those small businesses along those corridors. Is that right, or?
Yes, Mayor. There is an option that one of the directions we could take is exploring CPEs, the devices that would boost the signal into shops and or residences. We've worked with Vic in OED and Office of Economic Development and Cultural Affairs about where that lands in priorities. And one of the things that we said is we let the kind of network stabilize and see some more usage patterns before potentially proposing those in future budget years, but it is an option.
Yeah, I mean, just doing the numbers, we don't have a lot of usage right now. It's about 130 folks a day, which obviously is the reflective of a pandemic-stricken downtown. We just don't have a lot of people here. So I guess it's not a great time to be testing and understanding this, but in terms of just understanding what our best next steps are for investment, do we believe this is the right horse to ride in terms of technology? In other words, should our next steps be, let's go fill in the gaps in the downtown and try to expand this? Or should it be, well, this was an interesting experiment, but, it's probably a better approach?
Let me prime Vic to weigh in on this one as well. It's actually part of our question set. So we have some analytics that we've built around watching how that usage pattern changes. Yeah. You notice in the 3 areas, for example, it seems to be much more resident-based, even around the Guadalupe. That could be different audiences. The other thing we want to watch is as business ramps up, how that trend kind of maps out. And with economic development is to say what could be the next investments, or there's 2 other things we're looking at. Is this technology something that would help us do access east side cheaper? And that technology could be applied in those cases. And then number 3 is, are there alternatives in these areas where people are saying they need connectivity and it's too weak or too thin in certain parts of downtown, where we can be more strategic about that deployment. But really, we want to look at the next roughly year's worth of data And then talking with economic development, potentially bringing that back, but with some data to support what those decisions and investments might be.
Yeah,
But the honest answer, Mayor, is we're trying to figure that out.
fair enough.
Vic, anything you would add?
I think from an economic point of view, committee, the downtown needs the most assistance in terms of recovery across the city. You know, the worst point, we dropped 62% of our sales tax on a quarterly basis, and we've kind of recovered half of that. So we've still got 30% to go. And as Mr. Mayor, you were referring to, we are in a pandemic. So I think that we would really like to see next steps to include the opportunity to fill out the missing spots on the grid, on the map that you were shown. And secondly, to evaluate the pros and cons of taking the signal indoors and therefore build out the downtown offer, because we do believe we need to consider very carefully our sort of rate of recovery here, which is slower compared to other locations across the city when you measure it purely by sales tax, which is a key barometer for judging our capacity to recover as a city.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Vic. And, you know, I think this could be a great tool for us to maybe fill some empty storefronts and provide a little boost to some of those small businesses. They can reduce costs by using our signal. It would require us to have a different geography in mind, because as I was looking at the map, and I'm sure you're aware of this, you know, South First Street isn't covered. That's what we'd probably want to focus on first. We're talking about a lot of small businesses and maybe the historic district. And those are areas outside the coverage of the current network. So, you know, if that's our objective, I think we have quite a bit more infrastructure to build out. And I guess, you know, do we have any sense of what the cost is to scale here, both in coverage and in boosters? I assume boosters are relatively cheap, but in terms of taking on a couple more blocks, what does that look like in terms of cost?
Ed, we have you plug in here. One thing I forgot to mention, Mayor, was also during Christmas in the park, we didn't present the data because there was a controller upgrade and we lost the weeks of data, but the usage did explode during that period. So we do know when there's a big event and they start happening again consistently.
Yeah,
there's heavy usage on that network. But Ed, in terms of cost for expansion, if you can unmute and share kind of some ballpark numbers.
Sure. Actually, Sudhir has those numbers, but while he's pulling those up, what we've actually done is in our partnership with our Public Works as well as SmartWave Technologies, who typically handles a lot of those installs, we've estimated some calculations around how much on a per pole basis, which is basically the basis of the installs, would cost. Sudhir, do you have the cost estimates for install per pole?
If you're speaking, Sudhir, you're on mute again.
Yeah, I have those numbers on a per pole basis from SmartWave, and I'm trying to see if I can pull them up here.
okay.
Ed, just for the flow of the meeting, do you have those as ballpark? And then we can circle back to you, Mayor, on and the committee members.
It's about around if you know, if I recollect correctly, it's around $12,000 to $13,000 per pole to install the Cambium radio and also the Wi-Fi, the Ruckus Wi-Fi access point.
Around $12,000 a pole?
Per pole, yes.
Yeah, okay. And so if we assume there's a half dozen poles or so in a block. Okay.
Oh, yeah. So Mayor Liccardo, just for clarification, typically when it comes to extending out the backhaul, it doesn't require it to be on every single pole. It's basically just line of sight.
Okay.
So it should not be calculated based on the number of poles per block, rather the distance between and the line of sight.
Okay. So it doesn't seem like a huge bill. It'd be helpful to know, particularly as we're approaching budget season now, and I know we're still trying to learn more, but you know, at the very least, if we see this as an economic development tool, we really probably want to get this network into places where the small businesses are. So maybe offline, I'd love to talk to you guys about what that gap is. So it's something we could consider in March. And I appreciate all the hard work. I appreciate Meta's partnership as well. I know this is something that really started as something of a philanthropic venture of theirs, and I'm grateful that they've been willing to support it. I had one last. Oh yeah, it was about the usage. You said that YouTube and I think it was Facebook Live were the biggest apps, I think most frequent apps used, which seems to speak well about how robust the signal is. I assume if people are using video, then the 6 megahertz is actually really doing something. Is that right?
That's right, Mayor. So because with this new high-speed infrastructure, we are getting about 100 plus megabits per second in these strategic corridors, and that's the reason why we are seeing such high usage with YouTube and Facebook Live kind of streaming applications.
Well, that's exciting. I mean, even if we don't have great coverage, we certainly have, very high quality signal, and that's super important. So thank you very much.
Thanks for the great questions, Mayor. Councilmember Cohen?
Yeah, I just have a couple quick questions about how we are promoting and getting feedback on the system. So you talked about when we had Christmas in the Park, a large number of people were using it. Is there active promotion of the system, or are people discovering it because their phone just shows them there's a local Wi-Fi to connect to? How are people finding out about the availability?
And I can answer that one first and see if economic development wants to weigh in too. Is we did take that approach that it's a bit of a soft launch, and we didn't want to push it out until we could see that first 3 to 4 months of natural usage. And then, Councilmember Cohen, the plan is to do more marketing and to line that up with when special events start occurring to talk about the availability of that wireless network. But for that first 3 to 4 months, we did say we do the soft launch approach where it's there for people to find. It's Access San Jose, so it's the first thing people generally see at the list, and people generally found it.
I guess it shows that people, when they're using their devices, are just looking to see if there's a local Wi-Fi they can connect to when they're out and are finding the system.
And we do know that's in some of those strategic areas, and Vic helped with this, is it's been a complaint in some of those areas. So we knew people were looking in some of those corridors that they just had no great coverage and their cellular was weak. So we got that feedback, and so we were smart because they told us where to put them.
Okay, and then I guess my question would be, follow-up question is there a mechanism by which people can provide feedback as to how well it's working for them? Do we know if it's, if people are having problems with it?
Yeah, two things. There is an email for the Wi-Fi that folks can send that. It's not as easy to find. The second thing is we are on the capture page. There is some information on that one. If people, once we turn that on, if people go to it, there'll be a link. And so people can find us. Long term, we actually have in the pipeline for San Jose 311 also a service where people can talk about what they connect to and the quality of their service, just to kind of get a ground truthing view of people's connectivity in the community. But that's for future development.
I mean, we don't yet know for sure the comment that the mayor made about how well video is working. People are using it for that because that's what they want to use it for. It doesn't necessarily prove that it's working well or that it's not slower than they'd like, for example, right? I mean, people often are very tolerant these days of Wi-Fi that makes them wait a bit for video. So I'm just curious, on those heavy days, how much testing we've really done as to robustness.
You're absolutely right. We have a lot of our pressing with Telegraph and for SmartWave and Cambium has been for customer experience metrics. They generally are oriented around network metrics of, yeah, things are up, traffic is flowing. But what we've been pushing on is how to get that translated into people's experience. So are they connecting quickly and easily enough? You have to disconnect and reconnect. What's the average throughput that they're experiencing? But a lot of those tools haven't been built for that. Councilmember Cohen, you're exactly right. So we have more work to do there, and we're going to continue those conversations.
And I guess I'm a bit remiss because I haven't gone out and actually tried to connect to it myself, and therefore I'll ask the next question, which is, when people connect, they have to provide some information, or is there any kind of launch page, or do they just have to choose it and they're connected?
Hey, Ed, just want to make sure I'm answering this one correctly. We haven't activated the capture page yet, right?
That's correct. That's correct.
So right now you just see the network Access San Jose, and you just go click on it and you connect and you're ready to run. On the next part of that question, council member, is we don't capture any identifiers, that non-technical identifiers of that device. So we do see a MAC address. That MAC address is rotated so that we can identify. And there's some privacy review that's been done by our digital privacy officer. to make sure that we don't and cannot trace this to individual people. With one exception, some people have named their device their name, and in those cases, we are by accident capturing that, and so we try to parse that off and just have identifier numbers and use those rotating MACs to do that. But some people actually have named their device something that names identifies them personally, and so that's our tactic to get around that and not watch individuals.
So there will be a capture page though at some point where people will have to do some action in order to connect.
Correct. It's just the terms of use, same as we have for access inside. Yeah.
When they do that, is that a one-time thing? Every time they come back, they'll be connected automatically, or do they have to do it after? Is there some expiration period?
Hey, Ed, I'm going to need your help on that one.
Great question, Councilmember Cohen. So the answer is it's typically defined by session, and yes, the sessions do time out, and that's just to protect the ability to ensure the integrity of each session. So yes, it would be on a timeout basis, yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councilmember. Do we have, oh, Councilmember Foley, go ahead.
Sorry, just a quick question or just a follow-up to what Rob said. You said that we're, yeah, I'm going to put this in my terms, we're not capturing any personal data, and the only data we might be capturing, we're capturing data related to numbers unless someone names their phone Pam Foley's iPhone. And then you're able to see that it's Pam Foley. So then are you converting Pam Foley to a number? And is this an FYI for everyone not to name their phone after themselves?
It is good advice not to name your phone after yourself, but we've stopped using that device ID where people capture the name and we'll use the MAC addresses, and the MAC addresses do rotate periodically. That didn't used to always be the case, the definition of a MAC address, but it does rotate, just keep some anonymity in there, so we can't trace that to an individual. So that was something we learned along the way, Councilmember Foley, is we did not think that people named their devices after themselves, but when we discovered they did, then we started using the rotating MAC addresses instead.
Okay, great. And neither does Facebook Meta have access to this data?
Yeah, Facebook has no access to the usage data, and it's all performance related for us as well.
Okay, great. I have to go out and see if I name my phone after myself. Thank you.
Thanks for the PSA, Councilmember. Good questions. I do want to keep
That's
our
my
agenda.
Job, Matt.
Yeah, exactly.
I just named my phone after Rob Lloyd.
There you go. Perfect.
Mine's Matt Mahan.
Yeah. Add my social security to it. Why not? I do want to keep our agenda moving, but a couple very quick questions. One is, have we reached out to other cities to just get some benchmarking data and understand what they're learning? Is there a city that is kind of the gold standard on downtown Wi-Fi?
We do have some sharing that we do with some cities. Chattanooga, we've shared a lot of information with, but they're a gig city where they have a fiber to basically the entire community there because of some big investments they made. We have shared information with Mountain View. We have shared information with a couple peer cities in Arizona and Southern California. We don't have great comparisons, though, to be honest, Chair, is when we tried to take a look at those numbers and get to some kind of impact and usability. It wasn't consistent enough where we could come up with kind of a benchmark or something that's consistent across. But it's a good reminder. We haven't done that in about 3.5, almost 4 years. Now's the time we could check back on folks. I'll take that action item.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, if you see value in it, I mean, maybe I'll just expand my question to build on some of the questions that the mayor was asking earlier about the cost of expansion. I think when next time this comes up for a status report, I would certainly find it helpful to just get a little more analysis of essentially ROI, just kind of understanding, okay, cost to expand, cost to maintain. I know we're still learning these things, but I think it would help us be a little more informed on the sort of cost benefit of this investment over time, what the lifespan of the equipment is. And then if there's any way to benchmark off of what other cities do, I mean, I think there's some different directions we could go in here. This could end up being a really strategic investment for us long-term, or maybe there's a better way, maybe the effort isn't actually there, and it's just kind of hard to evaluate based on the information we have at hand in this report. But it's a good start. One other thing I just wanted to get clarity on, and my colleagues may already know the answer to this, but it was stated that continuing to do this work might allow us to do Access Eastside more cheaply or more effectively. I don't remember what the word was. Can you just help me understand why that's the case?
Yeah, parts of the extension, like Independence is an example, is the reach to some of the edges of where people live is extremely expensive to do the backhaul of fiber. And so this, if we can do a throw into an area where there's a cluster of folks in that attendance area where they need that connectivity, and it's cost prohibitive to do it by fiber, you could do this gig backhaul to then put access points in those areas. It's fast and relatively cheap compared to that hardwire infrastructure. But we still have to explore it and on your previous point, do the analysis to see if that pans out and what the life cycle is in practice. And that helps us define that engineered life and cost.
Got it. So you're just saying that this technology application, this solution can be used there. There's nothing specific to the downtown network that allows us to better. This is just you're just saying it's a learning opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. Okay, got it. I wasn't sure if you were purchasing equipment in bulk or what leverage it gave us up, but it's just a learning. I see. Okay, thank you. Thanks again for the status report. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, great. Let's vote.
Foley,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Liccardo,
Aye.
Cohen,
Aye.
Mahan.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Moving along. Item 2, we are on to the Drive to Digital status report.
Right. Thank you, Chair. So people, processes, and technology must come together for any solution to be effective. Through most of the pandemic, about 40% of the city's full-time workforce worked virtually and needed alternative online work processes to do their jobs. This required investment in developing and growing staff skills to create business automation solutions designed for internal and external customers. And here to tell us more about the business process automation team and their efforts are Erica Garofalo, IT Products Projects Manager, and BPA Team Lead, Monica Frankowski, the great HR lead, and Krishna Sastry, our amazing lead developer and solution architect for BPA. Erica? Oh, you're on mute.
It never works when you're the one on camera, right? Okay, good afternoon, City Council members, Mayor, and members of the public. As Rob mentioned, my name is Erica Garofalo. I'm a product project manager with IT and also the business process automation team lead. And I'm delighted to be here today with two of my colleagues, Krishna Sastry and also Monica Frankowski. So let's begin first by orienting us in terms of the city roadmap. Business process automation fills within the Drive to Digital portfolio. You'll see us down in the bottom row under the Powered by People enterprise priority. Our goal is to create automated processes that improve the ease of operations for both city staff as well as the public. To date, our primary focus has been on improving the ease of city businesses processes for staff, as we wanted to get good at the platform and hone our expertise before bringing it on to more public processes. But we do anticipate that our platforms will be used for both internal and external processes, and we look forward to growing as we mature BPA in the future. So let's first start with what is business process automation, or BPA as we call it. There are 4 main components to BPA: forms, workflows, approvals, and records. So first, we build a digital form that's available online 24/7. Second, we build workflows that connect that form information with automated routing, permissions, and alerts. Third, we add in electronic approvals, including electronic signatures. And then lastly, we save all these records in a location that's searchable and available online to anyone that has permission to access the data. The idea behind business process automation actually started back in 2018 with an RFP to acquire workflow automation software. The RFP was awarded in 2020, just a few weeks before the pandemic hit and everything shut down. So of course, the need for business process automation became much more acute at that point. Now I'll turn it over to Krishna to walk us through a bit more. Krishna?
Thank you, Erica. So in June 2020, we stood up the business process automation team with these 3 objectives, serving as our North Star. First, build workflows that are simple to use, digital, and take advantage of automation to drive efficiency. Second, build a team that's not just putting down tech on existing processes, and empower the team to improve the process and build workflows to drive transformation. And lastly, we wanted a technology that is reliable and scalable. So since June of 2021, we have automated 58 city processes, and we are seeing the requests are processed 77% faster than their paper predecessors. Cumulatively, requests are now taking 14,000 fewer hours each month to route and approve. You're probably thinking, wow, that's a big number. How can that be? The biggest return on investment we're seeing is from time saved because paper forms aren't lost, email requests aren't being buried, and requests are caught in a continuous loop of missing or erroneous information. So who's the business process automation team? The core team is made up of folks from information technology, Office of Employee Relations, Human Resources, and Finance. Plus, we also are working with our partners in SimplyGov, as well as the city's wonderful PeopleSoft IT team. We also rely on departmental process owners to provide expertise and help guide process redesign. Moving to the teal section, the BPA team meets monthly with our steering committee to drive transformation and champion automation. We meet quarterly with the executive team to set direction on BPA initiatives through prioritization and key decisions making. Both the steering committee and the exec team are made up of representatives from all our strategic support departments to ensure we are prioritizing work that will have the greatest impact across our workforce. So there are many benefits to automation. Here are 4 that we have found to be the most salient to our customers. First, having a single source of truth for information that can be easily searched. Second, tracking where the request is, whose desk it's currently on, and where it's been. We can also enable email reminders to reduce delays. The third, we can use validation to reduce errors and require information so that the form can be submitted with missing information. And lastly, with a standardized workflow, we save a lot of time onboarding new staff so that they can be productive on day 1. And when people move on from the organization, we don't lose the institutional knowledge with them. One of the first things we do when starting a new workflow is to figure out which application is best suited for the particular service or job to be done. We use 4 tools in our line of work, and they are SimplyGov, PeopleSoft, Microsoft Forms, and Power Automate. Keeping in mind that BPA isn't the solution for everything, in some cases, these tools won't work as well as a specialized application. For example, SimplyGov excels at replacing paper forms and collecting electronic signatures, whereas PeopleSoft is the best choice for anything to do with an employee record, such as timekeeping, benefits, and payroll. And now I'll turn it over to Monica Frankowski for some samples of what we have done. Thank you.
Thanks, Krishna. As we mentioned earlier, we have 58 workflows currently available and continuing to grow. So I will walk through 4 examples to showcase what BPA has to offer. Our first example is actually 3 public-facing forms we built for the Alfresco program, working with partners in economic development and PRNS. These include requests from private businesses to use parks and plazas, sidewalk and parklets, and private property for outdoor business operations. We are really proud of how quickly the BPA team was able to launch these forms, especially given the pressing need to expand business options during the pandemic. If you can imagine how this program would have functioned if we relied on email and paper or PDF applications, it's not hard to see the benefits of having this form online, available 24/7, with much easier tracking and response by staff. To date, there have been 310 applications since June of 2020. Next slide. The Muni Water Low Income and Vulnerable Customer Certification Form is currently available for community members to submit an online application for purposes of Muni Water billing. This form is available in English, Spanish, and Vietnamese and allows for better customer response. The customer is notified regarding the status of the application and gets an email notification once their request has been approved. This form also completes an open audit recommendation from the Muni Water Audit. And another public-facing form we built in partnership with the Housing Department is the Eviction Help Center Survey. The purpose of this form is for the Housing Department to connect tenants and landlords who need rental or eviction assistance with the right resources. It also enables the Housing Department to track individual cases and resolve them more efficiently than if they were collecting and reviewing over email. They can quickly evaluate data on who is using the form to understand the impact and effectiveness. And lastly, we have an internal workflow called our HR onboarding forms for part-time new hires. This workflow combines 12 previously paper PDF forms into an organized online checklist. This online module in PeopleSoft replaces the new hire paperwork HR previously provided as a packet at new hire orientation. The packets previously took staff roughly 11 hours to prepare and then hand key in the information into PeopleSoft twice a month. Now we are saving roughly 20 hours per month with the automated module. We have estimated that this is about an 87% time savings that frees up the staff. By moving this process online, this will not only save staff time and paper, but also new hires are able to have an organized portal to update information now or in the future. The tasks become not so burdensome and allows the new hire to be able to focus on their job they were hired to do more quickly. Now I'll turn it back over to Erica.
Thanks, Monica. So I'm happy to report that the pace of our workflow production is increasing. It took us a few quarters to get our bearings with the platform and hone our design, build, and deploy processes. We have a pretty standard process now, and we're also beginning to train others to develop their own automations. Although the pace of development has increased, we recognize that each workflow's lifecycle doesn't end when it goes live. We are committed to continuing to improve usability and adoption for our workflows in production. As you'll see on the next slide, our current quarter's commitments include a larger emphasis on the usability effort. I also want to mention that much of our capacity has been borrowed from other teams in order to move quickly to automate workflows because of our virtual and hybrid work environments. Most of the BPA members have regular day jobs. The work that they do for BPA is extra on top of that. Departments have been very kind to loan us these remarkable team members because they see the benefits of BPA and the value of investing resources in this area. So you've heard a bit about who the BPA team is and what we work on. The way we plan our work is just as important to the team and our processes. On the screen is a snapshot of our current quarter's objectives and key results. Each quarter, we spell out our commitments on what we hope to achieve over a 90-day period. These commitments are our key results, and they're organized within each of the 3 high-level objectives that you saw earlier in the presentation. I'll lightly touch on each high-level key result. So in the first column, we have our commitment to deliver 9 workflows this quarter from our prioritized roadmap. We're also committing to completing the requirements and analyses for another 6 workflows, with the thinking that these will be deployed next quarter. In the middle column, you'll see that focus on usability and adoption with a commitment to better understand our user journeys before they arrive at the workflow, while they're using the workflow, and after they complete the request. We're also committing to train 3 additional departments in how to develop SimplyGov workflows, as well as telling our story to council. In the last column, we're focusing on a reliable and scalable platform. First, the SimplyGov winter release, which just went live in mid-January, followed by more training and office hours on some of the new tools that were just released. And lastly, a commitment to measure adoption, output, and outcomes from at least 10 automations in an effort to begin a more routine cycle of performance measurement. Another aspect of how we work is maintaining and routinely refreshing a prioritized roadmap. We refresh and we reprioritize our workflow roadmap twice a year with the BPA steering committee. Again, this is made up of representatives from all the strategic support departments. The orange column represents just the top 14 out of a longer list of 42 workflows in backlog. And in yellow are the workflows that are in development and analysis this quarter. I want to take a moment to appreciate all of the hardworking team members of the business process automation team. This is a team that amazingly has never met in person. All of our work together has been remote. Each member on this team is making a contribution to help our staff and residents work more easily in a hybrid environment. And I really want to thank each of them for their dedication to making a difference. I also want to thank the department directors who have entrusted us with their rock stars to help make this cross-departmental team successful. I think they're finding it a worthwhile investment, so hopefully we can keep the band together for a few more tours. There's a lot more to be automated in the city, and we're really just at the beginning of this effort. Thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure sharing our work with you today, and I'll turn it back over to Rob. Thank you.
Actually, Chair, all yours.
Thank you. Erica, Krishna, and Monica, thank you so much. I really appreciate the presentation. Before we go to public comment, I just want to say that I know that this kind of work doesn't make the Mercury News headlines, but I think it's so valuable that you're putting in the time and effort to help empower our workforce to make the most of every day in the office or at home as it may be. And that lets us obviously serve the public more effectively and make better use of our limited resources. So I just really appreciate the work. And I also wanted to give you a quick shout out for how well organized and how clear and concrete your OKRs are. I think that's a model for all of us. I think setting really clear deliverables and having a really focused and logical roadmap is just a great example for the whole organization. So I know not everybody gets excited about this kind of optimization and automation work, but I certainly do, and I appreciate it.
I do too.
Cool. Yeah, awesome. Well, we can geek out on that later sometime, but I will, we'll come back to the committee in just a moment. I do want to make sure we get over to public comment. It looks like we have at least one hand up. Excellent. Okay, Joseph.
Hello, first time joining. My name is Joseph Richardson. I'm actually super excited too to see this automation come into city processes. So great to hear it. I do have several questions. One that does pertain to the last point, but I can get to that later. But does this software and sort of, I guess, project, will it be easily scalable to, I guess, other parts of the city, if they are like on the outskirts or in smaller towns? And if this is going to be rather more successful, as I see it's going to be, what would be the next departments within the city to tackle? Thank you.
Good, Erica.
Thank you, Joseph. Appreciate that. Great. Why don't we, as we come back, and yeah, Rob, I saw you were chiming in. I don't know if you or Erica wanted to, I know we don't always respond to public comment directly, but did you want to share any other context before we go to questions?
Actually, I was out of sync. Sorry, chairs. If you want to come back after the committee's questions, Erica does have that answer to that.
Yeah, go ahead. And then we'll go to Councilmember Foley. Go ahead.
Yeah, so right now, this program, SimplyGov and also PeopleSoft, of course, is available to everyone in the city. Most of the automations that we've done to date are for internal processes. So things like HR, IT, finance, things like that. But we have done a few external forms, as you saw, and we're definitely looking forward to rolling out more of that, especially as we bring more departments onto the platform.
Great, thanks so much. Okay, great. Councilor Foley.
Great, thank you. This is actually wonderful to see that we are streamlining processes and making it more efficient for our employees to get work done. But I'm always looking at a couple of things. How will this benefit the public, the end user? And what other departments? I noticed that, for example, PBCE is not involved in this. Is there a reason that they're not on one of the lists that we're working on? It seems to me that some of our residents' most frustration is code enforcement and permitting, and having a process that is simple, that's trackable, that goes through the systems and forms that you've created would be beneficial to our community. So that's my first question is, when will we be rolling this out to other departments and specifically PBCE?
Rob, do you want to take that, or you want me to?
Yeah, I can start. Eric and I have actually
and I'm sorry, Rob, before you go, I hate to use acronyms, so planning, building, and code enforcement for those out there who don't know what PBCE is. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Absolutely. And Councilmember Foley, Rob Lloyd, Deputy City Manager for the city. We've actually had this conversation in detail, and there is a map of which systems actually are best for certain uses. Where there's deep workflows and very specific work systems for something, the form on top sometimes can be a bad overlay. It's best from that system. And in this case, planning, building, code enforcement, and the development services partners, code enforcement, building, you name it. That's part of how they do the work management for that area. And it really justly and best belongs in Amanda. There are, though, opportunities to kind of do an overlay occasionally, and the idea is to put this tool out there, and if it becomes useful to them where they can supplement or ease something that's harder, or even do something fast while they work on something more complicated, this tool can meet that kind of need. But Eric and I actually do have this conversation, is where can we accelerate and put that accelerant versus what things need to be a part of that very purposeful, purpose-specific major business system. Like similar reason for PeopleSoft. PeopleSoft, a lot of the things that come through it then need to connect with other processes in the city, and that form very easy to get, but then becomes disjointed with the rest of the business process. Erica, anything you would add?
Yeah, so if you imagine that SimplyGov is like a Swiss Army knife, and so we can build a lot of different forms and workflows, and it's very flexible, but eventually that data has to go back into wherever it needs to be recorded. In some cases, that's a really easy lift. And in some cases, like tying back into Amanda, it's much more complicated. And so absolutely, I agree with you. Having, a lot of the forms that development services offers, having those in an online fashion would be amazing. But definitely, as Rob mentioned, it's not as easy as just putting up an online form. You have to do all the connections in the background to make sure that it works properly. But I love that you're excited about this the same way that I am, and like, let's see what else we can do in the city. One of the things that we've really championed in our team is our sweet spot at the moment is, as Matt said, not the stuff that's going to make the news. It's the unsexy stuff of like, let's, figure out how to automate our security and badge access, right? It's the small stuff. Once we get really good at that, we're going to be able to leverage our expertise for some of the more complicated stuff. And one other point on that, we are doing a training next week, actually, for more developers, and several of the development services related IT folks are going to be in that meeting. And so hopefully we'll get some creative juices flowing there and start to look into that.
Great, thank you. So my request is that we work to make Amanda as efficient as this is, and make it as easy for our consumer, our resident, to file for permits and others through the Amanda process. Several other questions. So far, this is mostly internally facing with our HR departments and other internal departments. how is the training going with our staff? Sometimes our staff, me included, are hesitant with new technology. So how are we training? How are we converting those who are paper-driven, like myself, to technology-driven and trusting that this is going to work? So how are we working through staffing concerns?
It's a great question. It's a great point, because you can certainly put something out into the universe, and cross your fingers that it makes sense to everybody, but we know that that's not the case. So in each of our workflows, we have what's called a process owner. So it's somebody who owns that process within their particular division. I'll give you an example. So mileage reimbursement. There's a woman, Yolanda, a lovely person who works in finance. She's the process owner for that process. We automated the workflow. She is responsible for making sure that people understand how to use it. She's the go-to person if people have questions. If there are any changes that need to happen to the workflow, she is the point of contact to make sure that any of those enhancements, usability, all that kind of stuff happens. And it's up to Yolanda to make sure that people understand how to use the workflow. So it's incumbent on the process owners to really make sure that their customers know how to not just fill out the form, but whoever's downstream from that information also knows what to do once a request has been submitted.
Great, thank you. And in connection with that, are we polling our staff to find out their level of satisfaction, their level of use, their concerns, their ideas for improvement, anything like that we're going to our staff and asking them the question for their input?
Absolutely. It's an ongoing effort. I think, we've been at this for about 18 months or so. And so a lot of the feedback has been more anecdotal, people submitting trouble tickets, things like that. But this quarter, we're going to turn that up a notch. We're going to be doing many more surveys, usability efforts. We also are going to add, there's an annual IT customer satisfaction survey. So we're going to add business process automation to that. So really trying to dig deeper into more of that performance measurement.
That's really great. I'm really excited to have this report, so thank you. Just one final question. What's the most impactful process that you've automated at this point?
My gosh, I have so many favorites. I think, the contract and e-signatures one has probably been it's probably the most impactful. It's not without its own issues. We're continuing to enhance it. But I think our ability to sign contracts electronically and then have that all that data is sent over to the clerk's repository. All of that is automated. So I think that one probably has the biggest impact. The other one is the one that Monica mentioned with the onboarding. To have new employees come to the capital of Silicon Valley and log in to put all of their information into a website rather than a piece of paper. I think that one is also it's a good look for us to have that be a first impression.
And a tremendous time saving.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to see more of this come about. This is really a great report. Thank you very much. I'm finished, Chair. Thank you.
Thanks, Council Member. We'll go on to Vice Mayor Jones.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the Business Process Automation team. It was a great presentation, very informative. And actually, I had the exact same question as Council Member Foley had. I know when these processes are designed and the technology is designed, and the engineers and the programmers all understand how it's supposed to work, and then it rolls out to the actual users. And oftentimes we find there's a big disconnect. So thank you for addressing Councilmember Foley's question in terms of how it's going to impact and how the end users are going to be able to adopt it, understand it, get that feedback to the team in terms of any challenges they're having using it. So thank you for clarifying that. The other question I had was about prioritization. Can you give me a little bit more detail in terms of how your team prioritizes the different items and what kind of criteria that you use to rank those particular workflows?
Sure, I would be happy to. The way that we use our the prioritization framework that we use is the same as the one used for the city roadmap. It's called weighted shortest job first. And it has 4 different attributes that it weights on: community value, time criticality, risk, and then the last one is job duration. And so we ask our steering committee members to score each of the prospective workflows across those 4 attributes, and then we run it through a calculation that essentially it prioritizes things that have a high impact but a relatively low lift over the things that have a high impact and are difficult to implement.
Got it. Thank you for that clarification. And that's all I have, Chair. And thank you for.
Thanks, Vice Mayor. All right, Mayor Liccardo.
Thanks. I'm just worried Erica's going to figure out a way to automate the mayor and council. We're going to have really quick meetings on Tuesdays.
One can only hope.
Yeah, that's right. This is all super cool. All the enthusiasm is well deserved. So we love seeing this happen. Thank you to everybody. Certainly Krishna and Monica, Erica, everyone who's been working on this. I want to just, at the risk of sounding nitpicky, just raise one very small concern, because I think all this automation is super important and valuable in saving time, and that's our most valuable resource is the time of our employees. But I know when the automation is public facing, there are risks, and particularly there are risks for many of our community members who may feel more daunted by automated processes, by computers, by online platforms, things like that. So could I just go for a moment to slide 13? Just take a quick look at that. That's the eviction form, and we'd expect, there it is. So on a form like this, where it's eviction help center survey in a diverse community like ours, I think we'd expect to be a lot of non-English speakers. Do we have something at the top that just says Espanol, Viet?
I'm not surprised that you clued into this. We should be having this in. It should be translated. It's on our roadmap to have this translated into Spanish and also Vietnamese, much like you saw the Muni Water one is translated. So this is on our roadmap to have it translated. And in fact,
cool.
It should be on all of our public facing forums, frankly, to have it translated. It's not that expensive and it's not that much of a lift to do it. And this is one that needs to be.
Okay, cool. Again, the form is great. I just want to make sure we're doing it in a way that's super accessible. And if we go a slide before that, where we do have a toggle, I think, for folks who want to do that. In this case, the view the form indicator is actually below the instructions. In situations like this, could we move it to the top of the page so that people don't look at a whole sea of English?
Yeah.
Before they get the opportunity. That'd be awesome.
We should hire you as a usability expert.
Yeah, I'm all about UX. Yeah, since I'm usually one of those folks who gets stuck all the time and has to call Rob for help.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Great feedback. Yeah, great feedback. Thank you.
Super cool. Okay, thanks, you guys.
Mayor, was that it?
Yeah, that's it. That's all.
Okay, sounds like you may have another career path. And
I really do. Yeah.
UX
Well, they're kicking
design.
me out in 11 months, so I need it.
That's right.
We'll hire
Polish that
you.
resume. Maybe Erica will write you a letter of recommendation. All right. I think we need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Great. Thanks again to the Business Process Automation team for all your great work. We will now take a vote.
Foley,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Ricardo,
Aye.
Cohen,
Aye.
Mahan.
Aye.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you all. Okay, excellent. We're moving right along. Item 3, we will now hear a status report on our digital privacy program.
Thank you, Chair. Home stretch. City Council identified the importance of digital privacy with the approval of the city's digital privacy policy at the end of 2020. The use of sensing technologies and data in the city's programs require higher levels of scrutiny and engagement to use those emerging technologies responsibly and to keep the public's trust. So San Jose has emerged as a national leader in this work due to our approach, team, and the collaboration with partners who push us in important ways. And specifically, we want to recognize our privacy advisory task force of public members. Albert Kahami, the city's digital privacy officer, will present with colleagues from the police department and Department of Transportation to help answer any questions. Albert?
Thank you, Rob. And thank you, committee members, Chair Mahan, committee staff, members of the public for having me here. I really want to walk through basically an update on our digital privacy program. The office itself is founded in October and really giving you a sense of what the work has been thus far. So to give you a sense and just to sense check, can everyone see my screen? Perfect. Agenda today, we're going to walk through first why it matters, why digital privacy matters, just a bit of context there, give a sense of a bit of the history and where we are in our privacy protocol today, then wanting to ground it in a case study, specifically the Monterey and Curtner traffic safety recording project. And we have great people from both police and transportation on. I believe we have Judy Tarico, Frank Karuba, Deputy Chief Schroeder, and then we have Lily Lim Sao on the Department of Transportation side. And then we'll go into just some open policy and some next steps. So to just come into it, really the approach that we're taking is the thought of a smart city having two sides. The first, and really the one that gets me excited, is the idea of being able to use information to provide better services, build trust between our community members and our city, and really making things better. Of course, there is the alternative, and if we go too far in certain directions, we can harm the trust of our community and our city. One, of course, improves services. One can lead to the harming of individuals. And really the fine line between those and how we toe that is through a strong digital privacy program that ensures a more responsible data usage for a smarter, equitable city. Which brings me to the mission of the Digital Privacy Office, is that the data that we should collect on a community should support that community. That our residents should understand what's being collected, why, and how they can engage to provide comment on what's being used. So as Rob mentioned, one of the big moments that happened in 2020 was our digital privacy policy was approved in December. This was a culmination of years of work with outside stakeholders, work with Harvard University and many others to really put together what exactly should go into a digital privacy program and how we should treat digital privacy in the city. However, there were some open questions about how exactly should departments follow that and how can we implement our privacy policy. And that's really where the Digital Privacy Office comes in, established in October of last year. So really, what did the city need to implement its digital privacy? The way I think about it is into three different parts. One being an adaptable privacy review process. Of course, some projects are very low risk, some projects are very high risk, and being able to change how we look at those and how long that process takes is essential to making sure that we can run functions as a city. Making sure that we have a defined ownership of our city's digital privacy and an expert that people can go to, and making sure that throughout the processes, we have a clear avenue for public engagement. With these three elements in mind, we built on past internal work from the city. So again, this includes all of the great past work that we've done in the city manager's office, in the mayor's office, from past data officers and whatnot, from the city and from peer privacy offices. A huge thank you to those at Santa Clara County, especially Mike Shapiro, who's really helped in close coordination with us in understanding what's a good way to build a digital privacy program. He's had one there since 2016, so really great to base it off of. We then took that information and was also guided by our Digital Privacy Advisory Task Force, which is a group of external experts that provide guidance and additional support on our digital privacy efforts. Really couldn't have done it without them. And of course, really taking all of these concepts in theory and being able to start applying it and refining it in key use cases and seeing the public response to them. So what I want to show you is basically the digital privacy protocol across the city as it stands today. Basically any type of program that involves data or new technology, and as we go retroactively looking through existing uses of data and technology, the steps that we take to both review and make sure that it's a responsible usage of data. First one, fairly straightforward, is just making sure that the project's being proposed to the Digital Privacy Office. From there, the Privacy Office assesses the risk at a baseline level, what's called a threshold analysis. Basically, this assessment determines, is this project low risk, medium risk, or high risk, which really starts to inform how many of the steps of this review process do we need to go through. So low risk projects, think of things like we need to get more laptops, like the library needed to get more laptops, someone needed to install a printer. These are fairly low risk projects and can be approved relatively easily. Then we start to get into medium risk projects and high risk projects that usually tend to require something like a data usage policy, which effectively defines how the data can be used, what it can be used for, how we collect it, all of those key fundamental elements to make sure that we're using data responsibly and effectively and in accordance with our digital privacy policy. The third aspect, and this is especially for high-risk projects, is we make sure to solicit public feedback on our data usage policy with members of the public, both in person, online, making sure that we get that engagement. Then the privacy review is completed if needed, and especially for new types of high-risk data usage, for example, whether it be video or related to something around there, coordinating with city leadership, both city manager's office and potentially as needed council. And then one of the key elements that we learned throughout our research from other peer offices is a need for ongoing monitoring. That once you establish the policy, that's great, but really having an avenue for annual data usage reports, which is basically just detailing how the data is being used and keeping track of that information, is essential to make sure that the policies are being followed. And just to highlight these, this is really where we build in those components of an adaptable review, a privacy owner, and clear public engagement. And I'm happy to go into more detail in any of these towards the end of the presentation and explain really what low risk, medium risk, and high risk actually means. But for now, we'll leave it at that. Just a bit of a perspective on how much the Digital Privacy Office has engaged to date. We've been working directly so far with about 11 departments or offices. This includes Police Department, Department of Transportation, IT, of course, Parks and Rec, and many others. We've had over 30 projects reviewed where we've navigated for especially mid-risk and high-risk projects, how the data can be used, privacy reviews, things like that. And we've had about 400 web page views on the digital privacy page itself since the Privacy Office has been created. And this part I think is particularly important because on that page is the direct avenue for, or one avenue for public comment, that people can comment 24/7 online whenever they want. Just to give you a sense of what types of projects are being reviewed, especially in that mid to high risk area, you've got fingerprint database management, traffic simulation software for Department of Transportation. You've got some electricity demand prediction and many others. But one that I really want to focus on, and the one that I'll walk through to really ground our process, is the Monterey and Curtner Traffic Safety Recording Project. And here I want to give a major thanks to our partners at Police and Department of Transportation, who have really done a great job working with our Privacy Office to put together both a effective and responsible usage of data. And I believe, again, we have Deputy Schroeder, Judy Tirico, and Frank Kruba from Police on to answer any questions, and Department of Transportation, we have Lily Lim Sao to answer any questions. But I do want to highlight and focus throughout this that this is really about the process of how we approved it, to kind of give you a flavor of how this works. So just briefly, context for those who are less aware of the Monterey and Curtner project. The intersection itself in 2021 alone had 3 traffic fatalities and 2 of those without a suspect. Most of this had to do, it seems like, with the lack of witnesses. And because of this, Councilmember Esparza, other members of the council, there's been a big push for increasing accountability at these intersections and planning to install cameras at the intersection. So with that in mind, we begin the privacy review. So one, police proposed the project to the Digital Privacy Office. This can be done through email or through an IT help desk request. The Digital Privacy Office assesses the risk. In this case, it was assessed as high risk, given the fact that initially when the project was proposed, it was looking at 24/7 recording, although that is no longer the case, at least for the police department. The data is being used for law enforcement, which in this case is specifically around automatic license plate reading. So there's both a enforcement purpose, or there's an enforcement component, and there is an automated component that really led this to being viewed as a high risk project. So because of that, we want to make sure that we go through all of the steps here. From there, the departments and the Data Privacy Office drafted the data usage policy, that the data basically can be used for investigating felonies, improving traffic management, but that it cannot be used for investigating misdemeanors and automated decisions without a human intervention. So especially for things like reading license plates, making sure that upon action, we have some human to verify that the plate's being read correctly, for example. We then took this data usage policy, put it together in an easy to read format, and shared this not only online on our digital privacy page, but also with community leaders and members to basically start getting that public engagement around, how people respond to this. I want to say we've got both in-person feedback, a major thanks to our Mayor's Gang Prevention Task Force, who really helped get us in front of about 100 community leaders, stakeholders, nonprofits in the city that could then inform their, their neighbors and whatnot to really share it with them. And then additionally, offering feedback online and any other type of written feedback. In person, generally positive and urgent need. Written, we had a relatively small response rate. However, it was very consistent. And I do want to highlight that with 80% of people reporting as very comfortable, 0% uncomfortable. And of those that reported somewhere in between in this neutral to comfortable standpoint, some of their written comments really indicate something that I think is very valuable for us to see, in that, especially in this second one, there's a concern about data being used responsibly, but if it is, then this should totally be done. And I think that goes to just in general, as we're going through this, having that type of responsible usage really both builds trust and maintains an effective usage of data. And lastly, an additional ongoing element of the public outreach here goes to the fact that this is a transit corridor. Because most of the people that are going through Monterey and Curtner might not necessarily live there, but they are driving through. We wanted to make sure that we have signage up at the intersection to inform people that recording is happening and showing them where they can provide comment as need be. So as the project is installed, we'll be able to have this information there at the intersection visible from all approaches. So that way people can continue to provide comment as needed. From there, we finished our privacy assessment. What you see on the right is basically just a sample of templatized impact assessment that we have, basically going through our key privacy elements from our digital privacy policy, notice, retention, minimization, etc. Project being approved due to the positive public feedback, clearly defined data usage, and the established rules that we put into place during this negotiations around meeting all the privacy policy elements. Lastly, normally we would escalate the project towards the end. However, this project and the Monterey and Curtner project in its whole was approved by council in September of 2021. So a lot of this review happened after that. And then the ongoing element is defined in our privacy review, basically what types of metrics, just basic usage metrics around the ALPR and whatnot to understand and make sure that we're using the data in the way that we expected. So really, I just walk through all this to say that this is one of many initiatives that we've put together, and we've gone through this process to create not only effective, but responsible data usage, and that the city will continue to refine its review process to promote a smarter, safer, more equitable city. Next steps that I want to highlight here are one, creating more general data usage policies for new and existing data initiatives. The office itself is very new, and so we're still in the process of getting through a lot of the data usage that is currently happening in the city. Codifying the digital privacy office's review requirement for data initiatives. Right now, a lot of this has been an informal engagement and then formalized through a lot of these processes that we've put into place. However, being able to have this as a codified requirement really ensures that this process is being followed throughout. And then scaling the digital privacy office with department needs as we expand our usage of data. Main takeaways: San Jose communities are demanding digital privacy more than ever and usage transparency to ensure an equitable usage of data, that the Digital Privacy Office is generating and developing these key privacy policies and processes to make sure that we can not only enable these usages, but also make sure that they're done correctly. And then the Digital Privacy Office is continuing to work with other departments to ensure this responsible data usage and providing ongoing updates as needed to you all and to the public. So that's about it. Thank you all. Happy to answer questions, but of course, I'll pass it off to Rob at this point.
Up to the chair.
Great. Rob, unless you had anything to add to the presentation, I'll just thank Albert and the representatives from SJPD and DOT. Certainly a really important topic, and appreciate that detailed example. Why don't we go over to public comment? And it looks like we have a few hands up. Once we have our timer up, we will start. There we go. We'll start with Joseph. Go ahead.
Sorry, I forgot to lower my hand.
Oh, no problem. Okay, great. We are on to Blair.
Hi, Blair Beekman here. Am I supposed to be going now?
Yes, you're up.
Oh, well, okay. Hi, thank you. I thought this item would have a bit more about our good practices that we're trying to learn of AI at this time, and the civil rights and civil protection ideas that we're trying to better understand and introduce to ourselves at this time. It's a really important concept to mention, and good luck in your efforts to work on that issue. Thank you for this report. Thank you. It was nice to learn that the public can have options in working and asking questions of privacy. I've always felt, privacy is not just, good practices of the public. It's good government practices as well. And the government has a way to hide privacy practices when they call it privacy. So thank you that you're trying. I think there's an important distinction between privacy policy and open public policies. We need open public policies to define good privacy practices for all of us. And they're not mutually exclusive subjects, and they're important topics to really be considering for ourselves. You're talking about the Curtner Monterey project, a very good example. Thank you. We had a big push of new ALPR use in November to address the smash and grab stuff. I hope we're realizing with all the new 4 and 5G, we have a ton of new surveillance technology and LED light technology that has surveillance and data tech. How are we going to talk about this as accountable direct practices? It's the open accountability of these practices that we don't have to go overboard with law enforcement and tech at this time. It's our continuation of good openness, accountability, and health and human services and racial equity. Good luck. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, we are on to Victor.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council members. My name is Victor Sin. I'm the chair of the Santa Clara Valley chapter of the ACLU of Northern California. I thank city staff for explaining the privacy protocol in this presentation. Pursuant to the prioritized backlog list of 2021 priority setting, I encourage this committee and the City Council to pursue a surveillance technology ordinance to codify the best practice to ensure transparency, accountability, and oversight about the deployment of high-risk projects. At the absence of such an ordinance, I suggest the following improvements to the privacy protocol. The memo says, and I quote, that high-risk projects without a previously approved data usage policy are submitted to the city manager's office, then the DUP may rise to council through a relevant committee, unquote. I encourage you to change the word may to will. This is so that the city council and the public are better informed of the high-risk projects and have a chance to discuss in a public meeting. Currently, the workflow does not address projects that are proposed or initiated by city council. For example, in the Monterey Curtner automated license plate reader project, the city council approved the project and then asked city staff to work out the privacy concerns. We would like to see that the privacy analysis be done upfront and be part of the agenda packet in the city council meeting in which the proposal is discussed. This will enable an informed public debate as opposed to approve first, then work out privacy details later. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Victor. Appreciate that. Okay, we're back to the committee. And we'll start with Councilor Cohen.
Yeah, I want to thank you for the presentation. I appreciate hearing how we're going to evaluate these projects and how your office gets involved as we implement the technology. I do want to ask some questions about your case study on the camera, because it's the example you gave. There was a distinction made between investigating felonies versus investigating misdemeanors. And I guess I know that there's some state debate in the state level about allowing cameras to be used for red light running, for example. And I think that as of now, there was still not, it's not settled, so we can't necessarily implement that. Is that true?
Councilmember Lily Linsau, Deputy Director of Transportation. That is true. In the last legislative cycle, a legislation piece was introduced for automated speed enforcement cameras, and that's being taken up by Freeman this year, but it has not yet been introduced.
Okay, and the red light.
I think red light rings.
No, I'm sorry, it was for the automated speed.
Yeah,
that was for automated speed, but also red light too. They're both.
No, I'm pretty sure the
that was just for speed.
Separate, yes.
But the red light one is still not
correct.
Approved statewide, right?
Correct.
Okay. And the reason I'm asking the question, obviously, is that you know, we want cameras there to try to make the intersection safer, and I certainly understand that we'd be using information collected there to investigate hit and runs and things where we've had some issues in the past. I hate to think that we'd only be making it safer by virtue of being able to look at things after an incident happened, as opposed to trying to prevent incidents from happening. And I certainly understand we have to really work out the privacy questions, but we also, if we have known places where we have a significant problem, we want to make sure we're able to, at least I think we have to have a conversation at least about how we want to be able to utilize technology when we have issues like this. And similar issues going to arise with usage of cameras for dumping monitoring, for example, illegal dumping. We put up cameras to watch for illegal dumping. Clearly, we're dealing with misdemeanors, but we as a city have a major issue in lots of locations, which costs us a lot of money, and we're unable to enforce because we can't catch people in the act. And I'm just wondering, and this might not be the right place for this, but I'm wondering what the Privacy Office thinks about how we may deploy technology for some of these situations that have been a big challenge for our city enforcement.
So Councilmember Cohen, so that's a multi-part answer. So let me try to kind of weigh in first and then bring in the police department, because there is a lot of nuance. And as we went through the data use policy, we surfaced a lot of that even as recently as yesterday. And so the first answer I would give you is some of these in the review process, we surface and then decide and talk with city attorney's office, go to our advisory task force to say, here's an approach or two, how might this work and work well to keep it as narrow as possible, keeping with the principles of the digital privacy policy, the seven principles. On the cameras, there's, for example, in transportation, the anomaly detection is what we call is like when someone veers out or there's a near collision or there's a pedestrian in a place. And one aspect is you do that after the fact. You can go back and review. You kind of get a flag that there's been weird traffic patterns or weird patterns observed. And then moving that forward is live, even to the point where you get fast response or dedicated response to certain things. And that's been hard for a lot of cities to figure out, to be frank. Is there's the detection piece, the anomaly identification, and then how you decide and structure your response to those things. And the faster you can respond, in theory, the more impact the program has. So the three things I would kind of line up is, number one is that wherever there is sensitive information potentially at play, in this presentation, Albert's showing you how we would do that review. Number two is in that review process, there is some work to do on how we decide around those things. So like for smash and grab, there is some work we'll come back to the Smart Cities Committee in March to say we've identified a way to not just do misdemeanors, but have it narrowly stated where these types of cases, and police will correct me later for my language, we do want the authority to do that. Also doing the engagement with the public, also doing the signage, also looking at how we can minimize what we collect and what we retain. But here's a structure and an approach from which we can work from, and the feedback that we'll get for then refine there. And then three is on Victor's, he's on our advisory task force point and comments. To take that to the committee and to the council for feedback so it's surfaced and it gets that feedback and we tell you the process and decisions that we've made and what we propose for council feedback and authorization. But some of that will also come back because people's sentiments we've learned are evolving on some of these technologies and uses. And as we figure something out and work from it, there are going to be cases we've identified as this is just going to be fact, where we'll need to revisit it and says, here's what else we've learned from that practice, what else we want to communicate, and how we might need to modify that policy, protocol, or approach. And then there's even some legislation that's going to impact us in the days or the years ahead, because privacy and retention are popular topics right now as well. So I threw a lot up there, but not sure if police, our friends from police or transportation also want to weigh in, and Albert should have a word too.
I'll hold if police and transportation have anything. Otherwise,
Go for it, Judy.
Yeah, this is Ed Schroeder, Deputy Chief.
Good.
Well, yeah, this is Ed Schroeder, Deputy Chief, San Jose PD. Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Yeah, I just want to, I mean, certainly, there are some restrictions that, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. I'm hearing some background noise, sorry. There are some restrictions that, that would prohibit us from investigating all types of crimes based on what we're currently looking at with the authorized uses for us. That being said, yeah, I think this is kind of a work in progress because there are going to be situations that weren't considered. The council member brought up a good point about the illegal dumping. There's other types of crimes that are crimes of violence, for example, that aren't necessarily felonies. So I think we could probably work on some wording and get that back to get to a committee or back to council for agreement on some modifications. But yeah, so there's always going to be nuanced items that will be restricted from looking at with these cameras because of the restrictions we currently have, and so we'll probably be bringing those up at some point just to utilize these to the most effective, most effectiveness we can. Would hate to have legitimate follow-up possibilities and then not be able to look at it because of the type of crime. But certainly not to be looking at the real low level crimes, but something that we have an opportunity to follow up on an arrestable offense would be something we would be interested in bringing back to getting some modifications potentially to our authorized uses.
I'm sorry, Albert, did you want to say something before I?
Yeah, no, just agree with everything that's already been said. I do want to highlight to Rob and Deputy Schroeder's points, this is an ongoing conversation. And while this is the existing approved process for this particular example, we are on the back end working on and developing the more generalizable policy for what, for example, ALPR would be used for. And then that would ideally, you know, as we go through council, the idea is for that to then supersede these existing policies.
And just for public reference, ALPR, automated license plate reader.
Yeah, and I guess there's a difference discussion about automated license plates reading versus using video evidence when you have things like dumping happening, for example, which wouldn't necessarily be an automated process, but would have video evidence when where after something occurs, you'll be able to go back and look for that case and then do manual license plate reader and identify people through video, right? So obviously there's some differences. This is coincidental because I had a conversation with Chief Mata this morning about the illegal dumping in a neighborhood and what happens when there's a neighborhood in our area where it occurs right across the street from some residents' homes. They see it happening, or they see it the next morning. They look at their own personal video cameras, right, that they have pointed at the street. They have evidence of who did it. They have pictures, and it's not clear to them or to me how we can use that as an enforcement mechanism. And these aren't necessarily arrestable offenses; they're citable offenses, but we also want to use this to change behavior and solve some of these problems. And so there's a lot more to this conversation than I think that we need to get into at some point. I'm not sure, again, what the right forum is for that, but there will be cases where we have residents video from residents systems where we might, as a city, decide in certain hotspots where we're spending a lot of money and we have a lot of problems someday to install, just like we did in this traffic situation on Curtner. We might do that we've talked about Monterey Road for dumping. We have several other locations I can think of for dumping as well. And so I'm just raising these questions because I think this is going to be an ongoing conversation for a while as to how we use technology to solve these problems, save our city money, save our residents trouble, and actually respond to what are some major residential concerns or concerns of our constituents. So I don't know if there's a question in there or not, but kind of the things I've been thinking about that are tough, but I think we need to answer.
Thanks, Councilmember. Well, go ahead, Albert.
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah, Albert, yeah, appreciate that. And we're all noted going through it.
Thank you. Thanks, Councilor Cohen. I strongly agree with your sentiment there. Important comments. Why don't we see what the mayor wants to say here? Go ahead.
Thanks. I just want to reinforce what Councilmember Cohen said first around the distinction between felonies and misdemeanors. Our goal at that intersection is to reduce fatalities and injuries, and 99% of the DUI cases are misdemeanors, right? More than that. Reckless driving is a misdemeanor. Let's use it for misdemeanors. I don't see why we would draw those kinds of distinctions. They don't seem to really have much relevance around any concerns around privacy. And I guess it's obvious you're doing great work. You're up and running with a really important role, and I appreciate that you're trying to bring a very very principled approach to how we're looking at this very uncertain and difficult and murky world of privacy. I would just suggest, based on what we've looked at this first example, that I think the public feedback should be suggesting to us that our threshold is being set too sensitively. And I know that's not very politically correct thing to say, but I'll say it anyway. LPRs have been used in our city for many years, not necessarily at fixed points, but certainly within automobiles. They've been used in cities throughout the state for many, many years. This is not anything remotely private. Any federal court would say there's no reasonable expectation of privacy in anyone's license plate. It's issued by the state. It's on a car that's visible to anybody in the public who can see it and videotape it themselves, and it's on a public road. So this is not personal identifying information. This is not biometrical information. This is not even anyone's name. This is just a license plate. We should not get wrapped around the axle on examples like this, or else we're gonna have a really hard time, I think, implementing a lot of critically needed technological solutions in this city. And again, I know that's not the politically correct thing to say, but I just feel like it needs to be said because there needs to be some counterbalance. I understand where the advocacy is appropriately on this issue, always for protection of civil liberties and protection of privacy. And we need that in our country because those are important values and principles in our country. There's not going to be a huge advocacy group out there saying, oh, what the heck, let's go. But the reality is we've got serious safety issues. We've got a lot of other issues that we need to tackle, and we need technology to help us tackle them because we have the most thinly staffed city hall in the country and the most thinly staffed police department in the country. So I think we need to lean in more and not put this kind of activity in that high sensitivity category, or else I think we're going to spin our wheels. That's my concern.
I'll hold on responding, but Rob, please.
Just two comments related to that, Mayor, is we will be coming back to PISFIS, Public Safety Finance Strategic Support next week with some more direction on how to marry up that ability to approach misdemeanors and use the technologies. The principles that we use, though, number two, is just to make sure that we dot the I's and cross the T's, that we're being careful and responsible. It's not to restrict the use where it's appropriate, but the signage, the minimization, the public feedback, where video especially is at play, is going to be something that we pay attention to, and then algorithmic usage of tools is something else we're going to pay attention to. But ALPR, depending on where and how it's defined for use, actually doesn't escalate up that risk scale always. So in the case of like Monterey and Curtner.
Okay, maybe I misunderstood. I was under the impression we kind of dumped it into the high risk category for some reason. That's why all this analysis was done.
Yeah, and Albert can correct me. It went down the higher risk path, but it didn't activate some of the extra steps that the smash and grab video, for example, would. And, but ALPR does lean towards that potential high risk. So, but because it was in an industrial area and arterial, not in the neighborhood, there were steps where it didn't have to go through as deep a process as, for example, face capturing video would. But Albert, anything you would add on that?
Yeah, for sure. So I want to make clear, one, to your main concern, Mayor Liccardo, that first and foremost, the goal as we move into PISFIS is really to start carving out something with much more nuance than basically this divide between misdemeanor and felony. I know there's been some the current passage of a memo was around this type of divide for ALPR around this misdemeanor versus felony, and so we're kind of at the moment, in a sense, forced to lockstep with that. Yeah. But I do want to make very clear that our goal is to make sure that this is both responsible but effective usage of data. And of course, to your point, being able to catch things such as DUIs and other things that are misdemeanors, but are nonetheless predictors of something that we want to prevent at the end of the day. It absolutely makes sense to use it for those purposes, and that's one of the key things. And correct me if I'm wrong, Deputy Schroeder, but that's one of the key things that we're going to work on carving out as we're defining the general data usage policy that would supersede this.
And let me just jump in. I'm aware that we're the ones that chained you to this distinction between misdemeanor and felony, so that's on us. I was just concerned that this example seemed to put us into that high risk analysis, and yeah. I could be wrong on that. And I'm concerned if this is putting us into that category, we're going to have a hard time, I think, getting through an awful lot of these. That's my impression.
So forgive me, I'm still new to the decorum here, but am I allowed to share screen again? Because I do have a framework.
Please. Yeah.
Perfect.
Be great.
So in terms of defining privacy risk, the way that we really think about it is data collected, the purpose of the data being collected, and what type of notice or consent is being provided upon collection. So for data collected, things like non-anonymous, indirect PII, in this case, direct PII, something, in this indirect to direct PII situation is where we're looking at with license plates, right? Because they certainly aren't, they aren't they aren't sensitive by any means, but they certainly can tie back to a person usually. In terms of purpose, this is really where we start to get to the conversation around high risk, is that we're looking at something that is fundamentally punitive in nature. And I don't say that to, especially in this case, and especially at the beginning of this project, when we were looking at 24/7 recording, which still it wasn't a public area, but there's no denying this would be a fundamentally new jump for the city to really be recording 24/7 in such an open, non-city owned public area. And then the fact that there would effectively be no clear consent provided, or at the moment there was no clear consent. And so that's really what we had to put in to de-escalate the risk. So, and happy to talk more through this, but effectively the key thing here is, especially at the start of the project when we were looking at 24/7 recording, combined with the ALPR, that's really where it started to raise some concerns and put it into this high risk track. But the goal being is that as we define these general usage policies, that we're able to create those responsible data usages that can lower the risk for something like ALPR, so we don't have to go through this process again.
Okay. All right. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Maybe that's the clarifier, is we did start off on a very intensive path. And then as we refined it with the police department, and we released some of those, we couldn't capture, we wouldn't be capturing faces, for example, on your point. If it's just the license plate, the rear of the car, make, model, some surrounding key information, but not lots of faces. That's where the process worked, that we said, all right, we don't need to go through as intensive a process. But number two is, as we get our practice set for ALPRs, how can we make that good balance at good pace? And I do want to give credit that between Albert and the police department, there was a fast flip on all of these as we met and all those things were identified. It was a matter of days, not weeks, as we got to each decision point. And then as the technology evolved, then we made another decision, but truly days. And so I think we've up to police department to weigh in and say if they thought it moved at good pace too, but I never saw it get caught. So I think we have a model here that can move at reasonable pace and balance the risk as well and responsibility. Deputy Chief Schroeder, if you want to weigh in on that one.
Yeah, it looks like you're still muted if you're trying to speak.
Or Judy.
Or not. Okay. Yeah, I appreciate the point. And look, I understand a lot more thought has gone into this than I've dedicated to it. But,
sorry, I have this. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, so I'll
Ed, did you want to respond beyond that, or? Okay, I guess I'll go ahead. So I guess my only thought is I think the way we're interpreting some of these things.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me okay? Yeah,
yes, we can.
Can you hear me? Yeah, I have some weird lag thing going on here.
Yeah, I noticed. Okay, I just think the interpretation may be a bit rigid. For instance, to say that this is not city-owned property, it is actually, it's the middle of a public street. So this is a public space. And the notion of consent, look, when we consider consent, it's usually with regard to going into a home, going into an automobile within the car. I think DMV and others would view that someone driving a car into a public space with a public facing license plate is in fact consenting that anyone can view that car and record that license plate, because in fact anyone can. And I guess that's where, so I'm just a little concerned if we're being too rigid on this, and if you're saying it's not interfering with things, great, we'll just let it go and let's continue to see how this all shakes out. But I think there are probably some variable ways of interpreting even these categories as we've defined them.
Thanks. I see that Ed was going to try to jump back in. I appreciate your comments there, Mayor, and I agree. Ed, did you want to try one more time?
Yeah, I apologize. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I think that's better. Go ahead.
Yeah, I had some weird lag thing. Anyways, I apologize. So I missed some of what the mayor was just saying because I had to log out and log back in. But in response to what Rob was saying, yeah, I mean, this has actually all kind of gone relatively quickly. We've expressed some concerns mainly around the issues we're talking about is we don't want to be restricted to investigate some of the crimes that these cameras were intended for us to be using them for. Like the mayor alluded to, a big majority of what happens around that intersection are not going to be felonies. I understand the reason it came up is because the council members concerned about the hit and runs and the fatalities and all that. But for example, a hit and run with no injury is not a felony. So yeah, just knowing we have the ability to continue to work, and this is something we discussed in our meetings with Rob and Albert, to kind of work through, like I said, the permitted usage as we're kind of used to using these systems. The mayor again also alluded to the fact he's been around for a long time. We have the vehicles, and you know, we have the cameras in the vehicles, and the policy is not quite as restrictive. So certainly looking forward to working through with IT and the privacy team to kind of get this to where this makes sense to be used as just one tool in many to properly investigate crimes that are occurring, that are captured on these cameras. And again, I apologize for
Thanks, Ed.
technicality. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm all through. Thank you.
Great. And just on that point, is there a process by which staff wants to maybe recommend what might be a better demarcation than felony and misdemeanor? Do you all have some thinking on that? Is that something that should maybe come back to this committee or to PISFIS, or what's best?
Yes, Chair Mahan. So currently, the digital privacy is slated for PISFIS committee, Public Safety, Finance, and Strategic Support, in March. So this is to give you an update on the program and to share with you that we intend to come back in March with that protocol that has the ability to, or at least the wisdom that we've learned from these last 2-3 months, and clean up what we can use ALPR for in some video cases. And that's what Albert was mentioning in terms of bringing back for action, and we would ask you to refer that to council for then approval, and we would operate with that, and it would include what Deputy Chief Schroeder mentioned in terms of it being aligned for enforcement of the things that we want to enforce.
Great. So you'll be asking us to help move beyond that original definition that we had approved.
In about a month and a half.
Perfect. Okay, great. Just wanted to confirm that. Excellent. Okay. Well, thanks, Mayor and Councilor Cohen. Unless there are any other comments, let's entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Great. Let's vote.
Foley,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Liccardo,
Aye.
Cohen,
Aye.
Mahan.
Aye.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Okay, everyone. We're at 2 hours and we are through our scheduled agenda. Why don't we go on to, thank you all, by the way, for the great reports and comments. And why don't we, before closing, go to open forum. Just a reminder for those who are participating, this is an opportunity to comment on topics that were not on today's agenda. Anything else you would like to share? Why don't we start with Paul Soto?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Council. Just the last part that I caught with the data gathering, that was very interesting to see you struggle with the issues around this kind of new technology and the way that the data is aggregated, and then it's like there's a wide net that's cast out. All this data is collected. None of it goes to waste, and then you're determining what to do with what. When you have a human factor, though, and Ricardo knows this in court, is that it's not as clear cut. This is a felony. This is a misdemeanor. There's a lot of other factors that go into, how the crime was committed, what were the circumstances before the person committed the crime, what were the circumstances after the crime was committed, what they did afterward, what they, things that the cameras and things that are going on in the snapshot of reality that you're gathering that are not going to be contained there. You see, so you just can't charge something as a misdemeanor or a felony. You know, one thing, a hit and run is it's not a misdemeanor. That's a wobbler. And what a wobbler means is that it's something. It's a crime that can be charged either as a misdemeanor or a felony when all of those other factors are considered. So what I'm saying is that to give the public a kind of perception that something is clear cut and dry just because the data says it and that we're going to follow that is very dehumanizing. It's very dehumanizing. And that's the concern that I have as a citizen, is that we're getting to a point where we're actually dehumanizing ourselves and others because we're relying on this machine that's going to spit out to us information that gentlemen like Rob are going to interpret for us. It's very extremely dehumanizing, and we really need to be careful about that.
Thank you. All right, Blair.
Hi, thank you. Blair Beekman here. Thank you for the meeting today. This was kind of a big one, I think. This one will be one to remember, I think. I wanted to note that in San Francisco and Oakland, Bart is, they're reopening their public bathrooms at the downtown San Francisco and Oakland BART stations. After 20 years of 9/11, they're finally reopening their bathrooms. And it just reminded me, to make a point of it at public comment time and the work that we're doing. I mean, isn't the work we are doing to kind of like end the concepts of war and work towards concepts of sustainability and peace and it's open democracy that really works towards those good ideas and goals. And it's openness and accountability that San Jose itself had a really important part in with the 2007 Sunshine Ordinance issues that, I'm basing a lot of my work on with the ACLU at this time about. And, it's those open and accountable ideas that I really think can help organize and help offer good guidelines for the questions you have at this time. And I think it really that the minimal use of technology for these projects can really do just as much as an oversaturation of technology in local areas. And we have to learn those lessons now. We have to learn to build towards sustainable ideas for our future. And we're not in a state of war anymore. And you know what that war was about. And it was a bad decision. And we went around with really bad thinking from that war. And we're trying to correct ourselves. We're trying to bring ourselves back to our better selves. And that means a future where we don't have to have pandemics like this in order to solve our future social questions. We can build a future of sustainability and peace based on openness and accountability. Good luck. Thanks.
Thank you. And Joseph.
Hey again. So a couple questions for just that came after the other topics, but back to the meta outreach for expanding the high-tech, high-speed internet. What was the timeline, or is there a place I can look up the timeline for expanding to lower income communities and what that would look like? And then also another question for the automated software for your forms that are made. What are the accessibility concerns and measurements made for the accessibility needs of those forms, both in their public facing and within departments? Thank you. Someone can answer that in a minute. That'd be great.
Great, that concludes open forum. We typically don't do a response to specific comments. I will say there's a lot more information on the city website about many of the topics we discussed today, and we do continue to discuss them at this committee and others. And as the chair of the committee, very happy to take any emails to the district10@sanjoseca.gov email, and I'll try to route your inquiries to the right place. All right, thank you all again. We are now adjourned, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.
Thank you.